Hello, it's Jane Duncan Rogers here from beforeigosolutions.com in collaboration with 60andMe, and today I'm talking about the worrying that can happen about your spouse dying before you. Now, I know that this is something that is a common challenge for many people because they've told me, and it happened to me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story first, and then I've got 3 tips for you if this is what's going on for you. My husband died in 2011, and up until that point, my greatest fear was that he would die and I would be left all alone in the world. We hadn't had any children, and I would be left basically to get on with my life all by myself. And I really didn't like that idea. Because we'd had no children, I felt like I would be abandoned, and I would also be losing my best friend, my lover, my husband, everything that meant everything to me. And the thought of it was really, really scary. And from time to time, I would have those feelings overcome me and get a bit panicky and then have to go away and do something else to try and avoid thinking about it at all. And then he got diagnosed with stomach cancer. And so suddenly the possibility that he might not be here was right in my face. Now, that actually turned out that we had a final year together, although of course we didn't know that at the time, but it turned out to be one of, I would say, the best years of our marriage in 20 years. And the reason for that is because we were forced to live in the present moment, like they say. What that actually means is that we were forced to really appreciate each other all the time because we knew we might not have each other for very much longer. And that is scary. And every time I went into those feelings of fear, I would come back out again by saying, hang on a minute, that's thoughts being projected into the future about a scenario that we don't know for sure is going to happen. I'm going to be here right now and appreciate Philip in the way that I can. But then, of course, he did die. My greatest fear did come true, and I was left alone, and it was horrible. That's just the way it was. It was not something that either of us, of course, wanted to happen. But I did discover something else, a surprise, if you like. I discovered that the fear was actually just thoughts that I had projected into the future. It wasn't happening in that moment. And now that it had happened, I was right in it, which meant that I had to go through whatever was coming to visit me. And I did go through it, and I did manage, and I did cope. And some days I felt like I was never going to manage, and I was never going to cope, and it was horrible. And I did get lots of support, and I felt like I didn't want to live anymore, even though I didn't want to kill myself. I didn't want to live without him, and I couldn't imagine a good future. It wasn't great. But I also discovered a whole lot of strengths in myself that I didn't know I had, and that was really interesting. I also discovered that I felt like I had withheld some love without realizing it from Philip during all that time we had together, and that was incredibly sad, as you can imagine. So I'll say a little bit more about that later on, but if you're afraid of being abandoned, like I was, I have some tips to help you with this. I think the first thing is that you have to acknowledge that your partner will die at some point. You don't have to accept it. It's hard to accept. You might go in and out of acceptance. One minute you might be understanding that this is likely to happen, if that is the case, or you might, and then the next minute you might be raging against this fact. Or it may be that your spouse is strong and healthy, and this is your fears just playing out, and you get to admit that as well. But I think the acknowledgement of the fact that your spouse might die first is important, because if you acknowledge that, then you are able to deal with practicalities a whole lot more. It may be poignant, but it will allow you to address some of the end-of-life planning stuff that is so helpful and that Philip and I did do together, and that has led directly to the work that I do now. Okay, point number 2 is don't judge the feelings. Don't judge the feelings that come up, Be kind to yourself. Be tender with your heart. When I was visited recently by a friend who was in this situation, her husband has been diagnosed with a terminal illness. At the moment, he appears to be fine. She's finding it very difficult to hold the two things in juxtaposition. The fact that she knows that he's likely to die and that here he is, apparently okay. And I've been in that situation too. And what I've learned about it is that whether or not you're faced with your partner nearly dying or this is just a fear that you have, the important thing to do is to welcome all the feelings that come. And how I did this was by, if you like, opening the door, the front door of my heart, allowing the feelings to come in instead of trying to keep them away, instead of pushing them away, and letting them come in and give their message to me or do whatever it was that they did, make me feel whatever it was, the way I was feeling. But at the same time as that front door to my heart being open, opening the back door as well. Now that means that those feelings can come and go easily. And that's really important, because what we tend to do is we want to welcome in the ones that we like and then keep them there. Doesn't work. And we want to shove away the ones that we don't like and not have them there at all. And that doesn't work either. And what I discovered in this whole process of our last year and after was that actually it works really best if you can allow whatever feelings, including numbness, including feeling nothing at all, to just be there and wait. Just wait, because it will change. It's one thing about feelings, they always change. Okay, the third thing is, be kind to yourself and keep your heart open. This is really important. It is about being here now, being here with your partner right now, enjoying what you've got together. Even if you are having disagreements, you can enjoy those disagreements and be wholeheartedly in them, because you will come out the other side. You can be grateful of what you have got right now. Those little niggly things that irritate you, I promise you, when your partner is not around anymore, if that's the situation that happens to you, you'll wish that that person could be back irritating you with those niggly little things. So look beyond those right now. Look beyond them to what it is that you love about that person right now, because this is really going to help you in the preparation for an event that may or may not happen. So just one last thing. How do you keep your heart open? Well, you can practice, and that's what I did. You practice by noticing how it feels when your heart feels open. To me, I can imagine I have an image inside of gates in front of my heart, and they are either wide open. Sometimes they're so wide open they don't even exist, and sometimes they're there and they're a little bit shut. They didn't always used to be gates. Sometimes they were doors, and sometimes they were locked, and they've certainly had barricades up in the past. So that's the way that I do it, but you can do it in whatever way feels right for you. This can be a sensing of your heart being open or an imagining of it, and just tune in to see what kind of situations, either with your partner or with your everyday life. Maybe in nature it's easier for you to have an open heart than it is if you're in a stressful situation. The great thing to do is to just practice noticing what it is that keeps your heart open or begins to have it closed down. And one of the ways that you can practice keeping your heart open is by meditation. And those of you who practice meditation will probably know that. And then there's a challenge, which is, okay, so what about if my heart is closed and I want to open it up again? Well, you can go away on your own and you can practice doing that as well. And you focus doing that by being grateful for what you have got right now. Being grateful for what you have got right now. Really important. Very, very simple, but incredibly important. And one final tip. If you're practicing gratitude, here's my favorite way of doing it. You simply think of 50 things, 50 things that you're grateful for. It may sound a lot, but once you get going, you will be amazed at how much there is to be grateful for. It's practically impossible to do that exercise of thinking of 50 things without ending up having changed how you feel, having changed your mood, and also ending up actually truly feeling really grateful. Okay, so let me end today by asking you, how do you judge your feelings? Do you judge them at all? Do you criticize yourself for the feelings that you're having? And how could you keep your heart open today? Okay, thank you.